invite them in his own way. You stinky kid. Do you only know how to kidnap every time you call someone? Why did you suddenly bring me here? Why did you suddenly bring me here? Even if you are royalty, you can't do this. The situation has come to this. Ethan can only apologize to them in his own way. Are you guys looking for a fight? How dare you make a racket in front of me? Don't you know who I am? I am the prince of this country, and the lord of this city. If I call you over, you should come even if you have to crawl. How dare you hurt my feelings? Have you all become tired of living? I'm sorry, Your Highness. This is our first time serving the royal family. However, after listening to Ethan's words, several people simply could not believe their ears. I will buy back the magic stones obtained by the army at the original price, and sell them to you at a 20% profit. If you have a direct channel to obtain magic stones in the future, it should also be beneficial for you. However, in the future, as long as I give instructions, you must prioritize the production of military supplies. Of course, I will pay all the production costs without any deduction. How about that? This should be a good deal, right? Ethan's goal is to use money and interests as leverage to persuade them. Because he is currently so poor that money is all he has left. Of course we should trade with the Lord. When should we start? What should we do? Ethan is very fortunate. Money is always the most valuable thing in this world. After that, Ethan called for the hero characters in the city. You should listen to what Lucas has to say. There is an army of 1,000 ghost knights. They are advancing towards the crossroad. They are expected to arrive in about 2 days. Everyone present except Lucas is very surprised. Your Highness, what should we do next? Of course you should do your best. I will now give each of you orders on what you should do. Lucas, you are responsible for assuming the role of the overall commander of the forces. Now all the soldiers are very scattered. You are responsible for organizing them within 2 days. His Royal Highness the Prince, I'm very sorry, Lily, but I cannot do this without your help right now. But you don't have to go to the front line. So don't worry. You are responsible for supervising the practice of guarding the city artifact. After this period of getting along, Ethan has decided to let Lily work in this city for a lifetime. Your Highness, I have only one question for you. If you want to see me, this old man, be more active, do I need to increase my annual salary? It turns out that Julia's characteristic is a gold maniac, so she is a true lover of wealth. And she is going to serve as the team leader in this battle. Dennis, take this thing. This is specially prepared for you. Due to Dennis's clairvoyant abilities, he will assume the role of a remote sniper. To prepare for the upcoming battle, Ethan has assigned tasks to everyone. But he is most worried about Dennis, who is the sniper. Because this position is not his primary job after all. Speaking of which, Dennis, where are your glasses? Actually, I wear glasses on purpose to deliberately decrease my eyesight. But now my eyes are useful, so I won't wear them anymore. When Ethan saw that the crowd did not panic because of the enemy's news, he also felt relieved. After the battle meeting ended, Ethan went to the southern city wall of Crossroad. When Ethan came over, the craftsmen also set aside their work. How is the condition of the city wall? The condition is not very good. After all, the city wall has been neglected for many years. Since it's called a fortress city, isn't repairing the city wall a basic necessity? Why leave it neglected like this? That's because of the insufficient budget. The decrease in monster appearances has led to a reduction in the collection of magic stones. Therefore, the former lord reduced the budget. Isn't the fortress built to block monsters? The amount of materials and budget used can be as much as necessary. Be sure to reinforce and repair to an exaggerated extent. Start quickly. The monsters are still advancing towards the city. After leaving the city walls, Ethan arrived at the lumber mill. You should have heard the news. What you need to do in these 2 days is build a wall. That high should be enough. It just needs to block the road. I am very sorry, Your Highness. The monsters can easily smash through the wooden walls. What I need is not sturdy walls that can stop the monsters. Just follow my orders. Use trees to build the wall. Don't worry. These wooden walls will definitely be very useful when the time comes. So stop complaining. Let's get to work quickly. Everything is proceeding in an orderly manner during the following period. Time has flown by. There are only 30 minutes left until the scene starts. The scout is closely monitoring the forest outside the city. At that moment, he noticed something unusual in the forest. They have appeared. The monsters have appeared. In an instant, everyone in the fortress became nervous. Everyone, don't be afraid. I will fight alongside you on the front line. Those guys are just small fry. They're just numerous, that's all. And we are the strongest army in the Southern Empire. The city defense is prepared perfectly. The equipment is also in very good condition. We can completely repel the enemy. Everyone, don't worry. Follow my orders and go into battle. In that case, we can raise our glasses to celebrate victory tonight. However, despite saying that, Ethan is very clear in his heart. The Ghost Knight Legion is the most difficult monster to deal with in the initial stage. The city's defenders are just some wandering low-level mercenaries. Due to the urgency of time, they did not make adequate preparations at all. But these situations cannot be told to the defending soldiers. Ethan can only keep all this quietly in his heart. He can only pray. Julia can play her role in this battle as she should. Little guys, it's our turn to take the stage. All monsters operate on the same principle. Eliminate the enemies in front of you. If there are no other obstacles, they basically move to eliminate humans at the shortest distance. As a result, their movement trajectory is easily predictable. Therefore, it's easy to fall into traps. Unfortunately, due to lack of time, the traps were not dug too deeply. In order to face the most challenging monster in Scene 1, Ethan has already set up traps around in advance. Although the traps are not deep enough, they are sufficient for now. Julia is here now. You damn monsters. Let this old man make a big profit. Julia activated Purification Zone. Unfortunately, there are simply too many Ghost Knights. The damage is not enough to defeat them when divided among them. You dare to challenge me. A group of things that do not know how to respect the elderly. Just saw a trace of lightning emanating from the monster that just entered the Purification Zone. The lightning around Julia is gradually turning blue. Guys, tonight's dinner is fried armor. Shatter them all for me, Julia said, swinging her hand down forcefully. Countless lightning bolts in the sky seemed to be responding to Julia's anger. Seeing this scene, the soldiers on the city wall were also greatly inspired. Originally, Julia first used a skill to mark the monster. Then she used her second skill to inflict unavoidable attacks on the marked target. Julia's performance in this battle is undoubtedly very outstanding. However, unfortunately, there are more than 1,000 Ghost Knights. Even though they have suffered heavy blows, they still continue to pour towards the city in an endless stream. Julia, do not prolong the battle. Retreat immediately. Julia immediately led the assault team to withdraw upon hearing the order. The numerous Ghost Knights showed no fear of death. Even if their companions fell, they would not stop moving forward. Kids, run faster for me. Don't look back, just keep running forward. They have attracted the monster. Get ready to follow my plan and start taking action. Julia, just move as I instructed. Members of the assault team are about to be caught by Ghost Knight. But Ethan had no way to help them other than praying for them in his heart. Fortunately, the members of the assault team eventually retreated behind the wooden wall. So far everything is going smoothly according to Ethan's plan. Next, it's time for these wooden walls to play their role. These Ghost Knights have no autonomous thinking ability. They only instinctively pursue the humans in front of them. So they won't destroy the wooden wall in front of them. When the massive army rushes into the crowded crevice, their formation width narrows. I know you have been waiting for a long time. The soldiers of the Empire. From now on, do not hold back. Fire all the artillery shells. The cannons on the city wall began firing one after another in an instant. The crowded ghost knights didn't have time to react. They could only watch helplessly as the shells came closer and closer, ultimately getting engulfed in the explosions. This is the very essence of tower defense game strategy. By forcing the enemy along a specific path to achieve the goal of eliminating them. Fire all the shells for me. Be sure to maintain a fierce bombardment. The firelight in front of them at this moment gave people an extremely comforting feeling. If we keep going like this, we should be able to win, right? Those monsters are unable to pass through there now. No. It's too early to draw a conclusion now. Suddenly, a monster holding a shield appeared in Ghost Knight. They stood in front and resisted the fierce gunfire. Such attacks indeed cannot defeat them. They are really a tough bunch. Merciless gunfire ravages through the group of monsters. Just when everyone thought they could easily win. The sudden appearance of the shield soldiers shattered their illusions. Fortunately, Ethan had already anticipated this situation. Lily is ready now. Initiate quickly. It is Your Highness initiating the activation of the gravity field artifact. The alchemist immediately started to act upon hearing the words. A terrifying gravity was applied to the shield bearer. Their movements became sluggish. Lucas. It is Your Highness's bed crossbow unit. Everyone, get ready. The soldiers on the city wall immediately began to act upon hearing the words. Almost instantly, all the bed crossbows were aimed at the center of the battlefield. Aim the spirit core bed crossbows at those guys' chests. Fire. As soon as the words fell, the powerful crossbows shot out one by one. They easily pierced through the shields, destroying their spirit cores. This is the second step of the battle plan. By using crossfire to stack up damage, followed by artifacts and bed crossbows to finish. So far, everything seems to be going smoothly. Some guys have come around the wall, Your Highness. It turns out that there are just too many enemies. The crowded people have pushed them out of the planned route. Julia, you are responsible for intercepting the ghost knights coming from the right side of the wooden wall and using hit-and-run tactics. Be sure to stop them. I will follow your orders, Your Highness. Julia led the assault team to the right side of the wooden wall. Those monsters that were squeezed out headed straight towards them. Damn monsters. Didn't I say to respect the elderly? Now that Julia is guarding the right side, you can rest assured. Now the only worry is the enemies on the left side. Dennis, it's your turn to take the field now. Shoot the guys coming in from the left side. Make sure they don't get close to the city wall. Dennis may be very scared, but his eyes change the moment he aims at the enemy. Without any hesitation, Dennis pulled the trigger in his hand. The arrow flew towards Ghost Knight at a strange angle. It directly pierced the monster's spirit core. Although Ethan knows that Dennis's behavior is no different from cheating. But seeing him hit the spirit core with a stone crossbow still couldn't help but be a little surprised. Now there are cannons, bed crossbows, and artifacts in front of you. On the right, there is a lightning sorcerer named Julia. On the left, there is Dennis, who is comparable to a cheat program. Unknowingly, the enemy has already lost 500 units. At this rate, we should be able to easily win. Just at that moment, Ethan noticed changes on the battlefield. It was a scene he had never seen before in his games. Ethan suddenly remembered that when the enemy's casualties reach 500, the boss monster of the Ghost Knight Legion will appear. So the monster in the air is the Undead Knight. The peculiarity of these monsters lies here. Although the Legion itself is also very powerful. But after repelling them, a boss monster will appear in the second stage. But now the Ghost Knight has not been repelled. The Undead Knight will not take any action. It just floats stupidly in the air. But Ethan forgot one thing. This is not a game but reality. Just the sudden appearance of a huge specter is enough to make the soldiers panic. The Ghost Knight Legion has not been completely repelled. But the Undead Knight, as the boss, has appeared. Even though it just floated in the air without moving, the the human soldiers were still terrified by it and lost their bearings. And this is the only oversight in Ethan's battle plan. The appearance of the gigantic alien instilled in humans the most primal fear. Its presence led to a sharp decrease in frontline firepower. And not just humans. Animals have also been affected by the undead night. This is something that no one expected. As the captain of the assault team, Julia, she was thrown off by the frightened horse and fell to the ground. Ghost Knight, who was watching closely, was not far away. If Julia falls, the entire defensive line will collapse. But those guys have already rushed over to eliminate the living humans in front of them. Members of the assault team stood up at a critical moment. However, Ethan knows very well. Their strength is simply negligible in front of the monsters. Your Highness now needs to use cannons and fire nets to support Julia's team. No, if we just kill them, more guys will come pouring out of there. The appearance of the undead knight has caused numerous flaws in Ethan's battle plan. The firing of the cannons and bed crossbows has ceased. The impenetrable wall of fire that once had no gaps instantly slackened. First, find a way to repair the wall of fire. The soldiers have all lost their spirits. Now Ethan can only pray that Julia can hold on a little longer. At the same time, Julia finally woke up from the coma. The intense pain in her body told her that she was still alive. Julia, you are finally awake. Julia, time is of the essence now. What's going on? Such a chaotic scene. It seems like it's not time to lie down and rest yet. The rescue team is about to arrive. We must hold on until that time. But he hadn't finished speaking. Ghost Knight charged towards Julia. The man immediately swung his Morning Star to drive off the monster. But even though the monster's helmet had become deformed, it still did not fall. He actually took a blow from me and still didn't die. Kid, watch out behind you. Unfortunately, the man was still impaled by a spear. He clearly remembered that the monster behind him had been taken care of. But now it's too late to say anything. It's all over. You bunch of damn monsters. Just as Julia is about to cast a spell, she feels a strange sensation instead. Her magic is out of control. When a mage is unable to use magic, she can only watch helplessly as her teammates fall one by one. In this situation, the mercenary's beliefs collapsed. Without any hesitation, the man abandoned his shield and ran away. But he forgot. The one thing you must never do on the battlefield is to leave your back exposed to your enemies. The small defensive line maintained by the assault team was completely shattered. Julia smelled it. The scent emanating from the Ghost Knight in front. The smell of rust and the smell of spoiled water. Mixed together, it's the smell of drowning. You should obediently stay under the lake water. Are you unwilling to do so? Will you let me, this old lady, easily get my yearly salary? In a state of extreme anger, Julia once again used magic. She killed the monster in front of her with just one strike. But she was very clear that this time, she didn't even have a quarter of her usual power. She knew. This time she was really done for. Members of the assault team fell one after another. Mage can't use magic like before. A group of dark monsters stood before her. Julia knew her life was about to come to an end. You should go now. Saving one person is better than the whole army being destroyed. I will use magic to buy you time. Hurry and run, kid. How can I leave? Staying here is the best way. Grandma, you are a mage. Mercenary survival rule number 2. Always stick closely to our army's mage. Compared to fleeing without a warhorse, the probability of survival is higher if you have assistance by your side. Although these words sound very childish. But the tactics of this young mercenary did work. He did not intend to eliminate the Ghost Knight in front of him, but to keep his distance by repelling them with his long spear. I will stop them no matter what. Please get ready to launch the next magic attack. Even Dennis is providing assistance for them on the city wall. But it's still far from enough to stop those guys. Just when she had finally gathered enough magical power to summon lightning, the entire body of the young mercenary was shot by the monsters. You bunch of damn bastards. Julia vented her anger continuously through lightning. But it's already too late. If she could gather magical power a few seconds faster, could she have saved this young child? Julia is already too old. There is no way to continue remembering each of these people's sacrifices one by one. Kid, do you still remember the first rule of the mercenary survival code? He heard Julia's voice. The boy turned his head with difficulty. Never accept. Do not accept jobs that offer inexplicably high rewards. I'm sorry, Mother. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Kid, all your survival rules are wrong. Being a mercenary that way won't lead to success. Want to become rich through mercenary work. Make a name for yourself. You should avoid taking extremely dangerous missions and instead focus on ones with generous rewards. You should also try to stay as far away as possible from those damn mages. Because those damn mages will steal your merits. But the most important thing is, if you want to stay alive, don't become a mercenary from the start. I can't even imagine that I've lost the magic to light a cigarette. I originally thought I could earn a high annual salary and enjoy life. Everything is over. It seems that I am also an incompetent mercenary. Time goes back to 3 minutes ago. Ethan ordered Lucas to abandon the rescue. Because in this situation, only by stabilizing the morale can there be hope of holding on. You fools, all of you, pull yourselves together. Don't be intimidated just because that monster has a big head. As soon as the words fell, the soldiers were energized as if they had taken chicken blood. Ethan realized that this might be due to the effect of his skills. He immediately called Lucas when he thought of this. I am responsible for calming the soldiers down and fixing the kill. And you need to go out of the city gate to rescue Julia's team. Ethan is very clear to let Lucas go out of the city alone. This is a very reckless command. But Lucas did not hesitate at all. He went to the dangerous place alone. Everyone, pull yourselves together. Stay alert. Lucas rushed into the midst of the monsters alone. He only wanted to bring back the members of the Special Forces team who were left outside. But he didn't know that. Now, there is only Julia left in the Special Forces team. And she is also prepared to sacrifice herself. Julia asks you to stand still and not move. Before the words fell, Lucas cleanly and efficiently took out the monsters around him. His timely appearance gave Julia hope to survive. But if Lucas could have arrived a little earlier, perhaps everything would have been different. Lucas didn't say anything. He just pulled Julia up onto the horse. Then, he suddenly spurred the horse with his legs and accelerated away from here. The monsters behind them threw their weapons one after another. They attempted to use these spears to block the two from escaping. However, Lucas effortlessly resolved the crisis in front of him with a single stroke of his sword. This young knight, your strength is truly extraordinary. Do you want to meet my granddaughter in the future? She is a very beautiful girl. If you still have the energy to make jokes, please use magic to restore your body, so you can use magic. There are still many monsters left to deal with. Even so, I still want to thank you for saving me. You don't have to thank me. I was just following your highness's orders. But Lucas is also very frustrated. If his horse could run faster. Let's talk about the regrets after eliminating those monsters. I, as an old man, haven't been on the battlefield for a long time. I also haven't been this angered for a long time. Due to the unwavering skill of Commander, the slaying formation in front has been restored. Julia also returned safely. It seems that everything is moving in a positive direction. However, in an instant, Ethan lost 4 precious hero characters. Ethan realized that he relied too much on his past gaming experience. This is a real world, so he must consider more things. For example, a wooden wall will catch fire due to the impact of artillery fire. The monsters have broken through the wooden wall and charged in. In the end, we still have to fight across the city wall. Ethan's original plan was to clear this scene with firepower. The good news is that the number of ghost knights has also been reduced to only 1/4. At least so far. The battlefield is still under Ethan's control. Your Highness, I have already rescued Julia. Although Lucas doesn't like the old man in front of him, he is very clear that making good relations with Mage is the wise choice. It's great that you came back alive. Your Highness, I am ashamed to see you. I, this old man, have made a mistake. It's me who let the innocent young people sacrifice in vain. I feel really sorry. This is not your fault. No one expected monsters to suddenly appear in the sky. No one expected the horses to be frightened and run away because of this. No. This is my mistake. At my age, still standing on the battlefield, I should know how to deal with it. So, the mistake I made should be remedied by me personally. I must personally take care of that guy. You should focus on your own recovery now, because I will need your help soon. At this moment, the monsters are still rushing towards the city wall. The artillery is still relentlessly pouring down on the monsters. Cease fire. There is no longer any point in killing them now. The monsters keep charging towards the city walls. But the commander ordered to stop the shelling. But Ethan has not given up resistance. But because they want to save their strength for the strongest enemy. Dennis, you should rest for a while. But those monsters are still advancing. You need to hunt down more powerful monsters. Make sure to recover quickly while resting. At this moment, the monsters have already reached the city walls. Although the city walls have not been breached, the monsters have climbed up along the walls. All prepare for hand-to-hand combat. Upon hearing the command, the soldiers grabbed their weapons and stood by the edge of the city wall. From now on, this will be a magic-free battle. This is a battle where enemies are blocked by the body. But this is the true war. As the monsters approached step by step, the soldiers' hearts were in their throats. They couldn't act yet. They must wait for the most suitable moment. A moment that can completely destroy the enemy. Now is the time. Take them down. The soldiers immediately brought the prepared buckets to the wall upon hearing the order. They were filled with various leftover materials from reinforcing the city wall. Just in case, Ethan left these things on the city wall in advance. Although quite a few monsters were shattered into pieces due to the impact of falling to the ground. But the remaining monsters stood up intact once again. Even after such a heavy blow, they still climbed up the city wall. The soldiers tried to stop those guys as much as possible with long spears. Ethan must now promote Julia to a primary member. Since there are now 2 mages on the team, the magic attack is increased by 20%. It's a pity that the monsters have already climbed up the city walls. Now the soldiers have to engage in close combat with the monsters using their bodies. Looking at the monsters in front of them roaring continuously. Ethan doesn't know if his soldiers can do it. After all, they have to fight monsters. They must overcome their deep inner fears. Just at that moment, a golden light shone on the city wall. I will eliminate them. You just need to do your best to hold your position. With Lucas's encouragement, the soldiers immediately cheered up. Seeing this scene, Ethan also breathed a sigh of relief. After all, if they cannot overcome their fear, the only thing waiting for them is death. Lily activates the next artifact. Yes, Your Highness. Activate the artifact. In this way, the speed of movement of all friendly units will increase by 5% within 5 minutes. In addition, there is the buff that comes with Ethan's profession. Human soldiers finally have the capability to engage monsters in close combat. However, Ethan is very clear about the difference between the two. After all, it is simply impossible to compete with monsters using only ordinary soldiers. The person who can truly influence the outcome of this battle are those heroes with unique abilities and skills. Lucas's first skill is called Strike of Will. The more enemies he defeats, the higher the damage of this skill becomes. With just this skill, he defended half of the city wall. But for him, It is impossible to defend the entire city wall. As time passes second by second, the number of wounded soldiers keeps increasing. But these ghost knights, even if wounded, will not affect their combat effectiveness. Dennis wanted to join the battle, but was stopped by Ethan, because he needed to save his energy to deal with the undead knight. Only in this way can the soldiers' casualties be minimized to the greatest extent. Just as Ethan was at his wit's end, a flash of fire illuminated the city wall. The monsters have already climbed onto the city wall. The soldiers were forced to engage in hand-to-hand combat with them. As an SSR hero, Lucas, he alone defended half of the city wall. But as time went by, the number of injured soldiers kept increasing. But at this moment, Ethan had no way to do anything. At that moment, the fire illuminated the city walls. At this moment, the figure in the wheelchair appeared extremely reliable. Lily, you can still use magic, right? Are you being too harsh? I'm just a mage. The unique lack of magical power of a fire mage is vividly demonstrated in Lily. Lily, I believe you can do it. You'd better let me retire. Besides, I've almost run out of magic power. One more time is enough. I believe you can do it. With various buffs stacked, Lily's magic damage has increased a lot. Therefore, she was pushed around in circles on the city wall by Ethan. Just like that, blocked by soldiers using their bodies. And Lucas eliminated the enemies with a knife. In addition, Lily used flames to repeatedly burn the results. The ghost knights have finally all fallen. At that moment, the soldiers didn't believe they had really won. Once they realized, they immediately cheered. However, Ethan was very clear that things were not that simple, although he also wanted everyone to rest for a while. But now they were about to face the undead knight. Only the remnants of the ghost knight flew into the air. They unexpectedly transformed into the body of an undead knight. Soon, an incredibly huge monster appeared before everyone. He just jumped to the ground, causing a violent tremor. For a moment, all the soldiers were panicked. Ethan didn't expect that the undead knight would be so terrifying in reality. That's a common boss that has appeared countless times in the game. But when it actually stood in front of Ethan, he felt a deep fear from the bottom of his heart. He even trembled uncontrollably all over because of fear. But he quickly forced this fear down in his heart. Because he understood. It was simply impossible to escape from here. Fire the guns. Don't hold back. Shoot all the shells. The intense artillery fire instantly engulfed the undead knight. But with such powerful firepower, it only made it take a half step back. The undead knight is approaching the fortress step by step. Lily, quickly activate the third artifact. Upon hearing this, Lily immediately activated the magic amplifier. It can provide double magic amplification for a user. The person receiving the magic amplification is naturally Julia. Very good. I finally feel a little bit like my old self now. Julia, please do your best. Focus your firepower on the enemy's chest armor. Your Highness, you must pay attention to preventing lightning strikes. I won't be responsible if you get an electric shock. With a single strike, she actually pierced through the undead knight's armor, revealing the monster's spirit core clearly in front of everyone at this moment. Dennis, quickly aim at the monster's spirit core. Upon hearing that, Dennis immediately activated his Farsight ability and used his powerful crossbow to shoot directly at the undead knight's spirit core. No surprises there. The crossbow bolt hit the spirit core with pinpoint accuracy. The spirit core shattered in front of everyone. Just as Ethan thought everything was over. But the undead knight raised his sword towards the fortress. Clearly, the crossbow arrow had pierced the monster's spirit core. But the undead knight still raised the sword in his hand. Once this sword falls, the entire city wall will crumble directly. Julia, go again. In the stormy weather with lightning, you dared to raise your weapon over your head. Fool! Is your wish to be struck by lightning and die? Suddenly, a burst of thunderous light appeared on the undead knight's body.